All right, I'm just going to kick it off here. I think we've got a lot of people who are probably itching to get moving on to the holidays, as I am. So I think today's going to be pretty short and sweet. We're just going to do the intro and brief updates, and then I'm going to go through some quick cold outreach tips, what I've seen working. We seem to see people making the same mistakes over and over again, so we're going to go through just the outreach tips, actionable tips that hopefully will help you implement right away after this webinar if you think they're valuable. Again, that's what we're going for: quick, brief, valuable. So that's what we'll do, and then we'll move into the Q&A. So every lunch and learn, I start out with who am I? Why should you care? I've been in M&A. I've been in the industry for my entire career. So I've always been in a deal origination role in some form or fashion, whether that was with, you started out with the larger banks and then went into private equity and moved in to a search fund, ran a search fund, sold my company before I built BizNexus, which is the platform for auction-based deal flow to help connect buyers and sellers with intermediaries. We put a lot of emphasis on intermediaries, the value of the intermediary, and what an integral part of the acquisition and sale process they are. And then with BN.Digital, that's our agency focused exclusively on off-market deal flow. Everything that we cover here with our process, which is called social selling. The entire point of the social selling process that we go through each week here is to build a valuable network of your prospects, primary prospects and referral prospects over time, right? So getting very specific about who your end prospects are those business owners in a specific geographic region? Are those business owners in a specific niche, coast to coast? And making sure that you have a coordinated outreach program to bring them in to your funnel, right? At the top of the funnel, it's one conversation, moving down to the bottom of the funnel where hopefully you can actually get the sit down, get the cup of coffee, get the meeting, and talk about an engagement. Over time, financial advisors, accountants, lawyers, the referral prospects that can deliver those end prospects to you become more valuable than any proprietary deal origination strategy that you have in place. Really starts to snowball over time as you build your practice. 5 stages of social selling that we go through on a weekly basis: optimizing your profile, optimizing your online persona so that it meets the pain points of your end prospect, so that you're not talking about you and your credibility. You do want to have that in your funnel. You want to have social proof, but you want to make sure that in the instant your prospect lands on any of your profiles, whether that's your website, your LinkedIn, that you are speaking to their pain points. Targeting, again, making sure that you get very specific on your primary prospects and referral prospects. That's going to save you a lot of wasted time downstream as an intermediary, as a buyout professional, as a searcher, and then building multiple campaigns specific to each of those prospect types and making sure that they're entered into a nurturing campaign, right? So you have top of the funnel communication for somebody who you've just met, and then you have the nurturing to make them familiar with who you are, what you do, how your value proposition fits their needs, solves their pain points, and also obviously providing a good degree of social proof throughout the funnel to the moment of capture, right? Which is the end game for all of this. Everything that we talk about, the end result is to get the sit down, is to get the phone call, is to get the cup of coffee, whatever that means for you in this world that we're in today. You want to have the engagement. You want to have the discussion about what the exit plan might look like for a business owner, right? What their options might be. Who is buying in this market? What could this look like? That's the goal of all of this, is to get that sit down. I'm not going to go through the funnel today, but if you aren't familiar with our funnel, the tools that we use, what we like, go back, look at some of the past lunch and learns. Those are all live on our site. Some of those will be taken down and put behind closed doors, so to speak, in 2021. So get on it now if you're interested. You'll have full access right up through year end. But the funnel is a very important part of the process. I'd say 90% of the people who I speak with in this industry, whether they are a new searcher or an intermediary or even buyout professionals who have been in this for a long amount of time, they're looking at leads as leads and not a prospect that needs to be nurtured about who you are and what you do. That's a critical mistake, especially in this industry, because the majority of people are not going to be ready for, to even have a conversation about selling their business valuation, what their plans are on first or second attempt, right? Your first at bat should just be to make contact, and then they should be entered into a very structured funnel that familiarizes them with who you are and what you do, and again, how you solve their pains as business owners. Make them comfortable before you make the ask. Most people miss this, especially with online communication, whether that's LinkedIn, email, etc. Updates, nothing huge. We have a lot with the integrations, so those are going to be going live. In terms of accessing new buyer pools, new seller pools, we have a lot of stuff going live, in particular through this quarter and then into Q1 that we're really excited about. So we'll announce those as that information becomes available. Our pricing model for buyers, that's going live. We have a lot of new features that are, let's say, buyout friendly, and that's all going live. Intermediaries, we haven't changed anything. We try to make this platform free for you. And your messaging, everything that we have on the site, we keep that accessible, we keep that free, and we're going to do our best to make sure that stays the case as long as the platform is up and running in its current form. We do have some new team members coming on board. We're very excited about that because we've been spread a little thin, especially with the agency. So we have some people coming on board who we'll be introducing to over the next couple of weeks. If you want to reach us, BizNexus.com, BN.Digital, those are the best ways to access our services. Again, BizNexus.com, that's our platform for auction-based deal flow, right? Think about brokers, think about the intermediaries. We want to make you aware of their value prop. We want to help connect you if you're buying business. We want to help connect sellers to intermediaries. We want to match intermediary deal flow to the buyers. That's what we do there. BN.Digital, all proprietary, all off-market deal flow. So today, we're kind of in the capture phase, but really this applies to every phase. We're heading into Thanksgiving. I don't want to drill into anything that is going to take too long or be too heavy. I think everyone's just trying to pack up and go where they're going to go, or if you're not traveling and staying put, maybe you just haven't done your shopping. So I feel like everyone's trying to get out and move on with the holiday. It's been a strange year. We've all learned it. So we're going to go through some very quick outreach tips, just things that I've seen going wrong with the majority of our current clients who come on board, what they're doing prior to getting on board with us. And then, when people call and we're doing the intake call, just really hearing these repeat mistakes. And then a lot of the stuff that we see actually coming into our own inbox, into our own, whether it's our own LinkedIn, whether it's our email, we're going to be highlighting what's working, what's not working. So let's go right into it. All right. So we've had a lot of questions about what outreach should look like. And again, I'll always say, it depends on whether you're effective or not, right? I mean, if you're sending emails and you're getting a bounce, if you're not getting replies, something's going wrong. If you're lobbing in cold calls and you're not getting the results, something's going wrong. If you're sending messages on LinkedIn and you're not getting the engagements, something's going wrong. So you want to make sure that you're doing it in an effective manner before you scale up. The limits that I see working in this environment with LinkedIn, if you're messaging, if you have an admin messaging on your behalf, whatever you're doing, I advise not going over 50 new introductions per day. Messages, you can do the same, but you really don't want to max out their limits. If you're using one of these softwares which have become popular, be careful. LinkedIn is cracking down on those. They're going to continue to crack down on those, especially the ones that they've identified. That's very risky in my opinion. The email, you should have, if you're using your own domain, I'd say stop. If you're doing cold email, you should have an email dedicated to that. And you should be reaching out to about 75, no more than 100 prospects who have been scrubbed. Run them through whatever bounce checker you have before you send the emails. Bounce checker is actually a great bounce checker. Just Google bounce checker. It's economical and it will scrub all of your emails before you send them. It'll make sure that you're not sending emails to catchalls info at companyxyz.com, et cetera. And you'll see a much lower bounce rate if you're using a tool like that before you send out emails. So that's it for daily limits. We see a lot of people, especially with intermediaries. Intermediaries often come to our agency after they've landed a commission, they've got some budget, and they want to go quote unquote digital, right? They want to do everything. And, be careful. First of all, you don't want to blow your budget. You don't want to spend all of your money just going wide and not deep. You want to do this sequentially. And I've had multiple lunch and learns where I've talked about what that looks like and why. So go back to those lunch and learns if you want to figure out what you should be doing first and then what you should be doing last. The spoiler alert there is be careful not to waste money on SEO in particular before you've taken care of the low-hanging fruit, the stuff that's going to be effective with with this type of outreach for business brokerage or for buying a business. So if you're doing a channel, if you're getting results on a channel, I'd say go deep on that channel and don't try to just get into everything because everybody says you need to be in it, right? We see a lot of people who maybe they're doing well on LinkedIn, but they want to do email and they want to do YouTube, they want to do video, they want a website and go SEO. We see a lot of that, especially if you're a boutique operation and you've got one or two admin. You don't want to just keep your admin at the bottom of the learning curve on multiple channels, right? Make sure your admin is comfortable with one channel that is yielding results and double down, triple down on it, and try to make sure that you're maximizing that channel before you move on, right? So the channels that we see working really well at the top of the funnel: LinkedIn, cold calling, email, cold email, video for the people who have the resources to do it and are actually adding something of value. That's tricky. But if you can make that work, content marketing is fantastic. If you have the resources, if you have, if you have the right message that's delivering value, that is effective, and that will continue to be more effective in this environment. And Zooms, right? Especially since COVID hit. If you can bring people into a Zoom and follow up, you have very, very good conversions right now with Zoom follow-ups. So if you have, a webinar for business owners or for your referral prospects, and you've put something together on your follow-up, we're seeing really, really good engagement numbers, right? So that would be, for example, if I followed up with everybody on this call today, you'd probably take my call because I've made the effort to actually take the time out of my schedule and hopefully teach something of value. If you can do the same with your prospects, that is working really, really well in this environment. Tonality. We've all gotten the messages, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's email, even with newsletters, where it's just something you're not going to read it, right? It's something that's long, it's drawn out, it's clearly going out to hundreds, if not thousands of people. Tonality really matters when it comes to the engagement, right? So if you have a great subject line, you get the open, but then what's the next step? You want to get the reach out. You want to have the call to action. So if it's, clicking through to watch a video, if it's, going through to sign up for your newsletter, you need to make sure that you're writing in a manner that actually prompts your prospect to take that action, right? So when you're writing, I always advise, if you're not doing it with an agency like ours, if you're putting this together yourself, think about it as if you're writing to a very close friend who you feel totally comfortable with. Maybe that's your spouse, maybe it's an old buddy from high school or from college, but it's somebody who you feel very, very comfortable with. Keep it casual and put yourself in your end prospect's shoes and ask yourself if this is actually delivering value for them, for somebody who's busy, right? Who's getting a lot of emails. Are you hitting a nerve that actually matters to them? Something that's a clear pain point. Keep it very short, right? Who you are, right? What it is that you do. Those are two very succinct sentences. Intro, this is what I do. Something helpful, right? Maybe you're kicking them over to your blog. Maybe you're kicking them over to a linked article, a LinkedIn article that's relevant to them. Something that helps establish you as a qualified authority. It helps cement your authority in this niche of business acquisition and sale. Something that is helpful. And then a clear call to action. The call to action, again, should be to reach out to you, should be to sign up for your newsletter, whatever that the intent, the goal of that email is, your call to action should be very clear and dummy proof in your email. Call to actions that we've seen work: confidential consultation or business valuation, very common, especially with business brokerage. That's part of the problem. Everybody's doing it. And if you're hitting the same prospects, because so many business brokers have gone online over the past 6 months, and the industry is getting much more effective at this, your business owner prospects are getting saturated. So you're going to have to differentiate, right? You're going to have to stay ahead of the curve on this as this industry continues to change. And as, especially with business brokerage, people are just getting much more engaged, right? Who's not on constant contact in the business brokerage world today? Who's not using some sort of automated drip software to stay in touch with these business owner prospects? Your seller prospects, the noise is up, and it's going to be harder to break through. So we've seen signing up for the newsletter, signing up for a Zoom, a regular Zoom, project scope, right? These are all CTAs that work very well. So maybe if you're reaching out to a seller and you just want to talk about, hey, it's been kind of a shaky year, and this is what we see coming down the pipe in 2021. These are the acquirers who've been active. If you want to have a chat, that's the type of call to action that's relevant to the world that we're in today and to this moment. It's not a watered down, call me for your consultation, get your free business valuation. It's, figure out who the buyers are in 2021 in your industry, in this location, right? Something that's very specific to this moment and relevant. That's a CTA that's going to convert. Follow-up schedules. People ask about this a lot. How often should I be reaching out? How do we follow up? First things first, especially if you are doing email or if you're doing calls. I started out in a cold calling role, and I was told to never leave a voicemail, right? You want to catch somebody live. That's still the case if you're actually effective at making cold calls. Think of it the same way with email. If you're sending an email, you want to make sure that you're using some sort of software that is tracking opens. And so if you send out 100 emails and let's say, 20 people open it, 30 people open it, you want to make sure that you're resending your message, getting your value proposition in front of the other 70 people, right? The other 80 people. So you want to resend to unopens with a different subject line, same email, different subject line. You know that you're not spamming these people because they haven't seen your value proposition. You want to track that, and you want to run your campaign accordingly. Some people like to reply and check in and follow up. I think that can be annoying, but it is effective. So if you reply a few days later and, just checking in to see if you've had a chance to read this, checking in to get this back to the top of your inbox, that's another way. I personally like to just track it and, resend to unopens, make sure that you're delivering the value proposition and getting your message in front of the eyeballs, then move those prospects over into the rest of your funnel. But cold email, again, in business acquisition and sale, you've got to assume that 90% of the people who you're approaching just aren't ready, right? They're not ready from a timing standpoint. They don't know who you are. It's going to take more follow-up. It's a long play. So you don't want to burn your brand on first outreach with something like this. You just want to get your value pop in front of them, make sure they see it, maybe have a follow-up here or there if it's valuable, depending on your campaign. But don't risk burning your brand all in one shot with a bad cold outreach campaign. If you are going to follow up, typically, depending on what you're doing, 4 times, 3 times. Again, I'm very cautious about burning your brand with a business owner because it's such a high value commission if you're a business broker, or a one-shot deal if you're a search funder, if you're looking to buy one business and take over and operate it. You just don't want to burn that prospect. So be careful with your follow-ups, but industry standard, people will follow up 4 times. You want to wait 3 to 7 days between emails. Again, just don't burn your brand. If you're on this call, you've attended the webinar, if you want me to review a campaign that you have, happy to do so. And I'll give you my honest thoughts. Last tip before we all head out to the holiday, again, make sure that you have campaigns that are integrated across channels. We see a lot of, again, not to knock the business broker, but it's just very common in the industry. We see a lot of people come in, they're either starting out a search and putting all their budget to work in one shot, or it's a broker who's just gotten a commission and wants to jump into digital, and they'll hire multiple vendors. They'll have multiple outreach efforts, but nothing is integrated. So you'll get overlapping prospects, overlapping campaigns. That's dangerous. My approach, my opinion, is you start with the data, right? You enrich the data. You make sure that you have email, you have phone, you have LinkedIn, you have whatever you need to run campaigns across multiple channels. Choose the channels, map out a plan, execute, and make sure that you're not sending overlapping messages to your end prospect that would burn you. So again, quick, dirty, just things that we see going wrong in the industry, people missing, certain things. We want to try to highlight what's working, what's not working. Hopefully some of this is actionable. This is where we have kind of a 30-second opportunity to jump in on some Q&A. And if we don't have any of that, then we can all go off and start shopping for our turkeys. So I'm going to give it kind of a 10, 9, 8 countdown here. And if we don't have any questions coming in, I'm just going to call it. All right, guys. Well, good turnout, and surprising turnout actually today for a pre-holiday webinar, but hopefully it was valuable. If you have any questions, we send out our survey that helps us. A lot of these questions, a lot of the things that we covered on today's webinar were based off of the feedback that we get on the survey that's automatically generated after this webinar. So if you have anything that you want to cover, that you want to see, if you want us to address in the webinars as we do these week in, week out, just let us know. Otherwise, have a great Thanksgiving. See you next week, and hope this was valuable. Thanks, guys.